Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch Movie. I am Mike, and this is part 2 of our Halloween Ends novelization breakdown. Check out part 1, I'll put it in the link below. I'll also put a link to it at the end of this video. We're starting off, last time I think we covered like one chapter, because that one chapter was just so cool. And also at the end of this video, I'll put our interview with Paul Brad Logan, where he goes in depth on some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. But this is the first time I'm reading any of this stuff, and thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video today. I really do appreciate it. Please click subscribe and all that bullshit, or else no one will tell you our videos exist. And then we may as well be Michael's crusty ass living under the bridge next to the McDonald's in Haddonfield. So let's go trick-or-treating, let's go fucking drinking, let's all go rent Pumpkinhead on VHS, because Halloween never ends, Halloween never ends, Halloween never ends. Yeah. It keeps getting better, man. This book is amazing. The detail, the things it adds to the whole story. This book makes this movie better in an insane way, and I so badly wish some of this stuff was kept in. So, picking up where we left off last video, Michael has just killed the two garbage men, and he has escaped in the garbage truck. That's how he got away from the cops, through Haddonfield. And we pick up, and they say here that it says that the FBI and detectives and all sorts of police forces and whatnots, you don't have a police force! We're all looking for Michael Myers. Everybody wanted to make their name on that case, and it's always something I thought was really interesting when it comes to Friday the 13th. It's maybe the only good thing about Jason Goes to Hell, is we finally get to see when this mass supernatural seeming horror situation happens, you would think that the FBI, that SWAT teams would flock. And it's nice to know that something like that happened, but nobody could find him. It does mention also that Michael had been doing some killings. Another thing that could have been added to the movie to give us some more kills and some more Michael that the movie so desperately needed. They came across a grisly scene inside a dilapidated cabin in the woods. And who wouldn't have wanted to see that? That's what we're here for. Michael killing people in fucking cabins. Or anything, really. And it also goes into Laurie's psyche after the events of Kills, too. I mean, we jump from Kills and she's Crazy Pants McGee to Ends and she's all of a sudden Betty fucking Crocker, right? So this helps to explain that. But it says that she joined fringe groups to hunt down Michael. Sheriff Barker resigned as another piece of the fallout that happened. The new sheriff even deployed the National Guard, who couldn't find a damn thing. But it's crazy, this explanation of all these things that Haddonfield and Laurie and Allison and everybody went through in the events between Kills and Ends, and it just paints such a better picture. It said that there was actually a mass exodus in Haddonfield. Haddonfield was slowly turning into this kind of ghost town, and the people who were left behind are all the ones who started to go crazy from the crazy evil. They did confirm that they bulldozed Michael Myers' house, and they made it a memorial for his victims, but then it became a place for like misfits who were fascinated with Michael Myers. There were people getting tattoos of Michael Myers, graffitiing Michael Myers around the town, and of course, as you know from the movie, this Willie the Kid guy's perpetrating these things on their radio like it wasn't even Michael's fault, that it was all Laurie and them's fault for badgering him and turning him into this thing that he was. And as we all know, boys who keep secrets don't get any custard for dessert. We go into detail on Corey's fucking wackadoo mom. She was a complete and total psychopath, and is a big part of the reason why Corey's so messed up as a kid. She clings to him so tightly and obsessively that she won't even let him date girls. She won't let anybody around him. She says that he doesn't need doctors when he hurts his hand. He doesn't need medicine. He doesn't need anything. He only needs mother, and mother's the only thing that he needs. And she is fucked up. And apparently she makes really nasty spaghetti with a whole bunch of sugar in it, which is just disgusting. But her custard's not sweet, and it has like a film over it. Have you ever seen pudding at like a Gaddy Town with the film on top of it? Oh my God, gross. But after Corey was born, she lost interest in his dad, so she made him leave. And then once she met Ronald, she started to finally ease up on Corey a little bit, but made it very clear to him that he was not to interfere in her mothering, even when that relationship started. So that's why Ronald, he has that great line of, "I hope you find love." He was told basically to stay away, and she was just as domineering to him as she was to Corey. Nobody had any say in that situation except for her. But she was obsessed with him. She would, up till the age of 13, she would sit over top of him and watch him sleep. He had a girl over one time, and she embarrassed him and sat in the room with her the entire time. And after she left, she ridiculed him for bringing home such a nasty girl. Talk about a nasty girl. She would mess with the thermometer to make him think he was sick to keep him home. She was always constantly telling him how sick he was so that he wouldn't go to school, so that he would stay home with her. And she even has this crazy backstory where she's responsible for one of her smaller siblings that was getting all the attention dying because she let it tip itself over and crack its head on the floor. This lady's fucked. Casey Anthony Uber Jason. And then we tell the whole Jeremy story again. Whoa, Jeremy, running bend down little concrete. Ooh, yeah. I think I got my Everclear Pearl Jam songs confused. But anyways, no, yeah, it's whoa, even flow, not whoa, Jeremy. Oh, me. Anyways, Jeremy was a little fucking shit who deserved exactly what he got. What a little asshole. In the book, as soon as the parents leave, what's actually going on is Jeremy's ridiculing Corey, telling him he's poor, he's white trash, he mows their lawn, he wishes he could have a house like them. Rampantly more of a little fucking cunt bag than he was in the movie for sure. And it will also, now that I know this, it will make me laugh every time he hits the floor in such a comedic way and shocking way as he did in the beginning of the movie. Just fuck! Another thing the book explains a little bit better is the scene where Corey's in the attic and he locks him in there. Why Corey's freaking out so much is because earlier the kid was talking about Michael Myers and the discussion got brought up, and then the door was open at that one point. Corey was actually freaking out about Michael Myers possibly being in the house at that moment because Corey thought to himself before, he's like, he didn't feel like he was important enough to be a part of a story that crazy. But he knew that Jeremy was. So he was actually scared that Michael was there to kill Jeremy. So when he got locked in that room, the fear of Michael Myers is actually what was causing him to flip out, which is just another microcosm of the whole town being plagued by Michael Myers' evil in one way or another. We go back to Laurie and her situation in between, and Frank's situation in between. They mention in the movie that he's the one who gave her the idea to write the book, and they have another interesting meetup at a hardware store. Now this is only a year after the events, and Frank can see in her eyes that she is just completely fucked up. He tells her, he's like, there's another way than what you're doing right now, and he's like, I'm living proof of it. And he's talking about him doing a journal and stuff like that. But it's interesting because there's even a scene where he's like, she watches him joking around with the hardware store employees, and she's like, he doesn't have a care in the world. Same thing, by the way, with Lindsay. Lindsay at first was panic attacks, was super depressed, but she went to therapy. She took care of herself, and she started to put that into healthy things and new obsessions like the tarot card thing. And that's where all that came from. And I just thought it's a very interesting thing that's going on in this movie. Everybody who survived in the end, or a lot of people who survived in the end, I should say, were the people who went out and did the work to make their psyches better after what happened to them, after the PTSD and stuff that they dealt with in Kills in 2018. The people who went out and did the work, the therapy and whatnot, to make themselves better were the ones that actually survived and living a happy life afterwards. I just feel like the book poignantly points that out. And it also mentions that Laurie's situation was really fucked. I mean, she was living in a one-bedroom apartment with nothing but a duffel bag full of guns, just housing scotch all the time. And she would call Allison up in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. freaking out, asking if she was safe, screaming. She's punching holes in the walls. At one point, she punches the floor so bad there's blood all over her wrists, and then she writes, he's still out there, naked and crying and passing out. She's just a fucking shit show, which also helps paint another layer to Allison and Laurie's relationship. Allison's actually sick. She was really happy when Lindsay got Allison to go get therapy and turn into this super positive person that she's become, overcoming all this stuff. But now she feels as though it's like some sort of performance art, like it's over the top, which you saw with the pie and shit like that. And I could totally see feeling that way and being annoyed by that if you're in Allison's situation. And she also says that she's constantly like giving her like advice and being over the top about overcoming what she's going through, and it's just hard to deal with, and she's overbearing. And you can totally see Laurie's character being this way because she kind of is like a all gung-ho type of person. She is overbearing and over the top, whether it's wine at dinner or shooting mannequins in the fucking face, or now this over-the-top healing thing she's doing where it's like, I'm going to shop for crafts and make apple pies. I could see that getting so annoying. And Allison's thinking to herself, I really want to get the fuck out of Haddonfield, but I can't. Even though I'm being smothered, I can't, because if I do, I'm afraid that she will go right back to the suicidal drunk that she was. They also explained the Doug Mulaney situation. That was awkwardly in there in the movie. Doug Mulaney, the officer that pulls her over, that they mentioned she dated, actually was there the night that everything happened to her to console her, and she felt safe with him. So since he'd been there that night and she felt connected to him and safe, she just kind of like zoned out, went and lived with him in his apartment and just sat there, and all he did was protect her because he knew he was batting out of his league. So he was like, you don't have to like me as much as I like you. I'll just take care of you. All you have to do is decide what you want to eat at night. So she was kind of living in this thing, and then she grew to resent it as she started to get better, and he started to remind her of the past. So she never really had these feelings for him. It was just a sense of safety, and Laurie liked that too, because she's with this big police officer and she felt like she was safer in that situation, so she pushed her towards that as well. Just a whole lot of extra layers of each of these characters, and it's really nice for a movie that didn't really have the time to go into these things with these characters. Probably the coolest thing we'll talk about today, Cult of Thorn Easter egg. Yes, there's a Cult of Thorn Easter egg. There's never, I'm not an Easter egg dude. I get sick of them, but goddamn do I love Halloween 6 and every one of its daunting, gaping flaws. But yeah, there's a huge Cult of Thorn Easter egg in there, which is amazing. That there's talking about the rumors that are going on the radio station and all that. There's a bunch of people in Haddonfield who actually believe that Corey, after Jeremy died, one of the rumors was that Corey belonged to the secret cult of Samhain. Along with super important figures of Haddonfield, from like doctors and sheriffs and people in local government. And they believe the reason so much evil would happen there on Halloween night is because these people believed in this Halloween god and would make sacrifices to him on Halloween. They even believe that there were secret caves, hell caves they call them, underneath Haddonfield, where these people would operate and where the cult would conduct all their ceremonies, and where they had their next vessel awaiting, which just reminds me of the whole crazy thing in 6. Not just the cult stuff and all that, but specifically the next vessel waiting. Obviously with the baby situation where Michael's just standing there in the corner like, that's not my fucking kid. But how cool is it to have a Cult of Thorn Easter egg? I love that shit. But Julian makes an appearance here he didn't make in the movie. He's actually at Allison's office where she's a nurse, and she's trying to get an obstruction out of his ear, which ends up being a spider, which, ooh, gross. That would be awful. But no, he's doing good. She says he's a super well-adjusted 15-year-old considering all that he's been through, and he's talking about how he's saving up money to get out of Haddonfield, and he's going to be rich and super successful. Sounds just like Julian when you read the book. So that was a cool addition to this. But Paul Brad Logan, I will say thank you for putting the idea that spiders can actually live inside of your fucking ears in my head, because I didn't want to sleep tonight anyway, you fucking dick. I'm kidding. You're a sweetheart, and you look like Billy from Green Day. We get fucking Loomis dialogue in here. God, I wish this was in the movie. It would have been really cool. And I bet you they recorded it, and maybe they just couldn't get the voice quite exactly right, so they scratched it. That's just my guess. Hopefully it'll be on some deleted scenes or whatever. But Willie the Kid plays it on the radio. He gets a hold of some old Loomis recordings. And I'm not going to say much of the exact dialogue because there's a whole lot of it, and it's really good. And check it out in the book for yourself. But one of the things that was really interesting that he said, he was like, this is no person, it is evil, and it is waiting. And when it begins, it will not stop. And he also goes on to say, I have lost all hope in Michael's recovery. Each day it waits. I sit before it and it looks through me. I fear its madness is becoming my own. He mentions he can't sleep at night, and he's starting to forget and not know who he is. He talks about staring into the abyss and the abyss staring back. Some really good Loomis lines of dialogue that are in this, and that explains that Loomis was starting to lose his shit. Being around Michael and being around that all day was starting to infect him. And it's a perfect addition. Man, it would have been cool in this fucking movie. I wish they would have done it. They really, with a broad brush, paint that infectious picture of Michael Myers in here. Not in this scene, but in another one, which shit gets crazy. We find out more about, we finally get to the character that he told us about in our interview with him, Nelson Christopher, which is fucking hilarious that they named him that. So the vagabond that Corey kills outside the tunnel that we see talking to him is like, I'm Michael Myers. Arr. You and me first matey scurvy cur. So first off, we get this guy's whole story, right? He was at Smith's Grove at one point with Michael Myers. So Sartain had him there and knew his backstory, which was an insane backstory. It was really cool to read about it. It could be a short or a movie in its own right, the way that this is written. It's so cool. So this guy, his mom kills herself right in front of him when he's a kid. She says some crazy Bible stuff, stabs herself in the face with an axe, and it fucks him up. Then his dad, who's a fucked up, he's like a religious nutcase. So he fucks him up. He locks him in the basement outside. He tries to like baptize him in like scalding hot water, just completely ruins this guy's chances at life. And the kid's obviously goes butt fuck nuts, and he literally could see the other kids on Halloween walking by and starts like pledging himself to the darkness because he's just his mind's gone. And what he ends up doing is walking into a fucking Dick's Sporting Goods, I don't think it's actually called that in this, pulling down the gate, blocking the lock so that nobody could get out, and running around with a hatchet, just spouting wild and crazy shit like, I'm gonna take you all to the darkness and there we will serve the devil together. Kind of remind me in a weird way of that scene in John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness where the guy goes crazy and he's like, do you read Sutter Kane? Oh, is that a macchiato? But yeah, that's how he ended up at Smith's Grove. But when Sartain was in control of him, so obsessed with Michael Myers, he's not interested in helping anybody. He's just interested in experimenting and doing, weird ass shit, specifically with Michael Myers. So what he does is he's hoping that this guy's evil will be a catalyst to awaken Michael's evil so he can see Michael do some shit he ain't supposed to do. So he puts Nelson in the cell next to him and he starts helping making Nelson darker, showing him fucked up images and things like that, and just uses it as an experiment. It doesn't work. Michael doesn't give a shit about nobody. Michael just sits there. But Nelson did become obsessed with Michael, and he keeps saying, you are pure evil, aren't you? You're pure evil. He's like, let me be your driver. And he's just gone fucking way off into the further. Oh, side note, by the way, Nelson was also on the bus that crashed in 2018. He talks about his memories from it, and they also add an addendum to one of the kills. The kid that's talking about going to dance class or whatever, that Michael quickly snaps his neck in 2018. He says that when Nelson saw the body of that kid, it looked like his face had been beaten so bad it didn't even look right, like it should fit on the rest of his body. So Michael not only snapped his neck, but he took the kid's face and smashed it to that state, which is just interesting. We always talk about, does Michael even kill kids? He's tried to a couple times, but was he really trying? I don't know. He did walk away from the baby in 2018, but no, apparently that's not the situation. He kills children, and he kills them with haste, at least young teenage-ish children. But Nelson gets released because of a class action lawsuit against Smith's Grove and is just out there walking the goddamn streets, which just sounds like something that would totally happen in real life and kind of freaks me out a little bit. But just as happenstance would have it, the FBI, nobody can find Michael Myers, but Nelson just happens to walk right in that fucking tunnel, and he knew immediately that that was his god. By the way, that's how he looks at him, as his god. Which is really fucked up. He hears Michael breathing in there. He knows it's him. And it says that he goes in there and he's like, let me be your driver. And he serves and takes care of Michael while Michael's down there hurt and fucked up from his injuries and basically dying. He cares for Michael. Wow. I had no idea that one character who's just like walking around like, I'm Pirate Steve, added so much of this lore to this. I would have loved to see some of this stuff happen in the movie. And I think it's going to play out more as we go along in the book when we get there. But what a crazy story that is. And it adds to the lore again of Michael. Did Michael do this to him? Did Michael infect him with it? Does Michael have this effect on people? They're kind of saying it about Loomis, but is Michael doing it, or is Michael just so fucking dark people are doing it to themselves? It's really interesting to think about, but it's definitely Dancing Fever has gotten a hold of this man for sure. He is obsessed much with Michael Myers for sure. And by the way, the scene where Corey gets knocked off of the bridge and you see a hand reach out and pull Corey in, we all assume that that's Michael Myers. In the book, they actually point out that that is Nelson himself. And earlier, Nelson had been bothering Ronald at the junkyard, and Ronald said hungersome and gave him his leftovers. And so in that scene, Nelson actually talking to Michael while dragging Corey's body in there, he says hungersome, just in the same way. Now, I don't know if Michael's down here fucking eating the Megan Baxters of the world, but it wouldn't surprise me a bit. Or maybe he's just saying in theory, and not specifically saying, would you like to eat this young man, Terrifier 2 style. And that's where we'll leave off, page 112 of the book. We're getting ready to get into the darkness of the tunnel. I cannot wait to read that. I want to be fresh for it. One, maybe two more of these videos to come, depending on how it goes, how many differences there are. And lastly, one thing I forgot to mention, the book does a great job here of also explaining the pain and turmoil that Corey is going through. Because, I mean, he's real fucked up. He's very, very suicidal. He sneaks into the Allen's house at night and goes up to the banister where Jeremy fell off and will make paper planes and just like throw them off before dangling himself off the balcony and trying to get himself to let go. After the scene that happens at the party, the dance situation where the mom's there, he really thinks hard about how to kill himself, the different ways he could do it if he could pull it off, but he doesn't even think he can do that right. So it paints a better picture of how bad his psyche is for sure, which I thought Rowan Campbell did a great job of translating without the words specifically saying it. But just, man, this book's lovely. You gotta fucking get it, man. And if you don't want to wait for the physical copy to come, because I guess some of them are delayed, you can buy the Kindle version online and actually just read it on your computer if you'd like as well, or there's an audio book. But guys, I hope that you're enjoying doing this as much as I'm enjoying talking about it with you. I really appreciate it. We're on page 112 of 303 pages, so one, maybe two more videos depending on how much extra stuff there is as we go, but I'm really enjoying doing it piece by piece with you guys. So, and I love your fucking faces. I hope you guys have an amazing day. I appreciate every single one of you. Comment down below, what do you guys think about all this crazy shit, and what did you have for lunch today? I want to know, because I'm pretty fucking hungry right now. Halloween never ends, suck my fucking dick, and I don't really care what Blumhouse fucking says. Put him in a box, or suck a fucking cock. You can say he's dead, but we all know he's not, yeah. So let's go trick-or-treating, let's go fucking drinking, let's all go rent Pumpkinhead on VHS, cause Halloween never ends, Halloween never ends, Halloween never ends, yeah.